enough to put my glasses up here. It's page 173 of your book. Living and growing together. The author begins by saying 90% of people gonna get married. 90% of Americans, they gonna get married. Now, it didn't say anything about staying married, did it? But they gonna get married. And so what he did say is that half of those are probably going to end in divorce. Now, what we find here is that some of the marriages survive and some don't. Now, why? Why do some survive and why do some not survive? And so what we're going to talk about is some of the predictors, some of the indicators. And what you find is more than likely, because there's always exceptions. Y'all get that? There's always exceptions. If we say, well, this is the case here and this is the case there, and you may say, oh, no, not me. Well, maybe not you. Because there's always exceptions. But if we ignore the statistical data, it's like ignoring the problem. It's like ignoring what's out there. And what's out there is out there. And so what we're talking about is some of these likely things. Laswell and Laswell did the study. Now what they did is they studied 130 strong, cohesive, functional families. Y'all catch that?
Yes, sir.
These are ones that made it strong, really, really good. And what they found were 6 qualities that stood out in them. Now, understand that there are differences amongst those 130 families. They weren't all the same. People are different. But there were 6 qualities that seemed to permeate those successful families, successful marriages, okay? And I want to talk about those 6. The first one is that the family members appreciated each other. Now you say, well, that gotta go without saying. No, that don't go without saying, because there are people who've probably been married for 12, 13, 14 years, and there's still some, you understand, not so much appreciation in that family. They don't all appreciate each other. You see, there's a level of appreciation that's being asked. They support it. They feel good about themselves. Listen to this. Criticism was generally absent. Didn't say there was no criticism, but every time you turn around, somebody wasn't criticizing somebody. You catch that? I mean, in families, and there may be families where criticism happens every day, and they've been married 20 years. You know, because somebody say, I ain't leaving. I ain't going nowhere. You know. So it doesn't mean, you know, I want you to look at the statistical data. But these people tend not to criticize each other. Okay? Now, and I like this. They enjoyed being together. All right. As a family. They enjoyed it. And you say, oh, here come, don't leave me alone. I'm over here in my room. You stay in yours. They enjoyed being together. Here's the second one. The second one was that they arranged their schedules so that they could be together. Uh-oh. Because, y'all know, we busy. We so important. And so our level of importance, they say, but baby, I'm doing this for the family. I'm doing this so that, you could fill in the blank. But what about us? You see, there has to be that you arrange your schedule. See, what does that mean? That means that this is intentional. That means it's on purpose that we arrange to be together. We schedule to be together. You see, it don't mean that there aren't any spontaneous times, but it does mean that you make arrangements to be together. There's an effort. Third, there was positive communication. They had a pattern of being positive in their communication with each other. That involves openness, it involves honesty, it involves being patient, it involves that word that Aretha Franklin talked about. Respect. Concern. We're going to talk about differences a little bit later on. But if you don't think you're different from your spouse, you living in a different world. Y'all are different, and differences don't have to be a problem. Okay, but you can talk about your differences. But the thing is that there's quality communication between the two, the family, the two. That's quality communication. They talk. They talk. And when I say quality communication, you can't always be criticizing the person you with. It doesn't matter that they don't get things right all the time. The question is why you feel like you got to be the corrector.
All right.
What made you the professor? The thing is being more positive, okay? Listening to each other. Number 4, what produces success? There's a high level of commitment to the family. A high level of commitment. And so when there's a high level of commitment, there's a sense of belonging. A sense of belonging. You feel like you're part. You invest time and energy into the family because, you feel like we're fully committed to this. I need to go. I'm going to spend some time with JoJo now. It's not that you can't spend no time with JoJo now, but how much time have you spent with the one you with? How much time have you spent? And what if the one you with feel like you haven't spent enough time? And then you want to go with JoJo now. And so what do you say? Well, I've been with you all now. Let me just run over there and I'll be right back. No. where's the commitment to the family? You spend time there, and you do JoJo them next time. Hey, JoJo, look, I'm gonna catch y'all later. I'm gonna catch y'all next week, bro. Catch y'all next week. I'm staying home. What's wrong with that? You see, it's commitment to that family. Commitment to that person you're with. Number 5, there is a spiritual orientation. And when they studied these families, all of them weren't necessarily church-going folk, but all of them were folks who were highly spiritual in their approach to life. You see, but we say, remember the research earlier says that if you are in church and you go to church and you worship together, you tend to stay married. You tend to stay married. But when you're not, when one does and one doesn't, it's a little bit more challenging. It's a little bit more challenging. Okay? And what about, and number 6, their ability to deal positively with a crisis. When a crisis comes, oh, you didn't do it. Oh, no, you didn't do it. Well, if you had that's not how they do it. They deal with a crisis in a positive way. It's realistic. They did not engage in denial or repression. They didn't do that. They were adaptable. They nurtured and cared for each other. And the crisis ended up putting them together instead of tearing them apart. So those are 6 things that these families were studied over a period of 15 years. These 130 families were studied over a period of 15 years. And these were the 6 things that were in common that came out. What are your thoughts about that? About those 6? Tell me what you think about the first one, that they appreciated each other. Yes, ma'am.
I think that the appreciation is important.
Is that on?
Yes.
I need more. It's just me.
Because you don't want your spouse to feel like everything you do is not, they don't see the value in it. And it's okay to say, I appreciate you, or, thank you for doing that. And, I think that it means a lot if you do that for one another.
Yeah. Isn't it good to talk about the positive more than talk about the negative?
Yeah.
You can always find something negative to say about your spouse. Why don't you find something? Well, what about the positive? Yes, sir.
Yeah, I agree, Charlene. To me, it's vital. The things that family members, they're talking about the family members and the spouse.
Yeah, because we're talking about families. And so, spouse as well as the children.
The reason I ask because to me, when they're appreciated, it gives them a sense of worth.
Okay.
And value.
Okay. Yep, there's a hand back there.
I concur with what everybody has spoken. How appreciation is very important because what it does, literally what it does, it creates a climate and an atmosphere in the home where everybody can thrive and grow. So that's very important.
Yeah.
In that manner.
Yeah, very positive atmosphere in the house. Yeah, always, it is, I think there's enough criticism going around in the world. You ought to be able to find some appreciation at home. Even if you don't do everything exactly right. I see 2 hands. You get a young person wiping off the table, right? And they missed the spot. And you go, hey, did you see that big old spot over there you missed? Why you missed that spot? Why would you appreciate the fact that they wiped the table off? Why you had to pick out the fact that they missed that spot? You see, we have a habit of looking at what didn't go well instead of accenting what did go well. I got two hands. Go.
Bishop, I was looking at it as, too, when you appreciate somebody, it brings a closeness there.
Okay.
And when you criticize, it makes a gap right there between you. One
Okay.
way, the other way.
Okay.
Because of the criticism all the time. Instead of saying thank you, or, saying I appreciate what you do.
Okay. Kim, and then,
Bishop, you mentioned that just, a lot of times we just focus on the negative and not the positive. That everybody does bring something good to the table. And if we focus on what's good and comment on that and encourage them in that, then maybe in the things that are negative, they'll come up in those areas by you constantly giving them praise, on the things that are positive.
yeah, and isn't there a positive way to let somebody know they missed the spot? And there, and so, oh, you missed that spot over there. You ain't paying no attention. There's got to be a positive way. Yes.
When you are negative, that mother spoke about the gap, and when that gap comes in there, then other things can creep in, and all it takes is for somebody else to start noticing what you do and appreciate it.
Yeah. A lot of times we hear that in the counseling arena is that somebody wasn't getting appreciated at home. And so out there, somebody is always saying, your hair, your suits, you really did a good job with this. You always did. And they just felt appreciated. And it filled that gap.
And a lot of times when you're appreciated, in my mind, for me, I'm like, you know what? They noticed that I did that.
Yeah. They noticed.
They noticed that I did that, or they was paying attention. That I did that.
Yeah. We're gonna talk about that noticing thing a little later, if we get there. We may not. I don't know, but there is a point where he talked about nonverbals occurring, that they're sending signals, but the other person is not noticing, not seeing. Yes.
I was just going to say that when someone appreciates another person, then that person wants to reciprocate that appreciation to the other person. So it's like a positive vibe. Well, I appreciate you, and then you want to appreciate something that I do. Some people thrive on whether or not somebody appreciates what they do.
And before you know it, you're out of bounds. You're appreciating the wrong person. Yeah, you said that. Yeah.
Yeah, I just sitting up thinking about my husband and all, and he does the cooking and everything and stuff and whatever, and I'm the type of person, I like things in order. And so my husband has a lot of shoes, and so I saw some a pair sitting down in the family room, and so I picked them up and took them back there in the office where he was and stuff. He said, well, see, if you had put them on my feet, you wouldn't have to be placing them somewhere. So I got the shoes and I got down there and I put them on this feet and stuff, whatever. And I thought came to mind, so you might want to take a picture of this because they're not happening more. But then I said, no, I better not do that. My husband's a good husband. I appreciate him. Praise God.
Okay. Now, let's look at communication on page 174. Communication, where he says, is the key to growing relationship. A successful marriage is successful because the two people communicated together. It's successful because they communicated together well. Communication involves sending a message and receiving the message. But the most important part of those two, both of them are necessary. The most important part is the receiving. Okay? Of those two. Now, remember, both parts are important because you have communicated if you haven't sent well and received well. But a lot of times, it's how we receive. Are y'all catching that? Yeah. It's how we receive. The Bible says, be quick to listen and slow to speak. Okay, so let's talk about some keys to effective listening. Hearing, listening what someone is saying. Okay, now, the first suggestion for effective listening, the first suggestion is to establish eye contact and have a good posture. You know, here we go. I need to talk to you about something. Yeah, go ahead. I'm listening to you. Go ahead. The first thing is what I have to say is what? Not important. Because your reception demonstrates the level of importance of what I had to say. Are y'all following that? Oh Lord. He used an example that he was reading a book and his wife was trying to say something and he said, I stopped reading and was listening, but the book was still open and I wasn't looking at her. And for her, it meant what?
You ain't paying attention.
You ain't paying attention. What I'm saying,
don't matter.
You know, the first step in effective reception is look. Hey, you know, I got to tell you something. What's look at it. Look, you know. And don't go like this. What you? Yeah, because now you defend. What you? Come on, what you? Now you Here's the second one. The second is pay attention, and we just kind of talked about it, the nonverbal cues. I like this, the example. So I want to use the example he used because I thought it was good. He said, imagine a husband coming home from work and he come home late. And the wife greets him with these words, I've been waiting for you. Now, what do those words mean?
Depending on how she looks.
Wait a minute. I've been waiting for you. You hear those words? Now, how we interpret the words is going to be based on the nonverbals. Is she crying when she say that? Because if she crying, that means she was probably worried about it. Y'all catch that? She was concerned. If she's scowling, then that means what? She probably mad. Yeah, I said. Yeah, she upset. If she's smiling, what if she's smiling? That can mean affection. She said, I've been waiting on you means I've been missing you. I've been missing you. I was looking forward to you getting home to the crib. I've been looking forward to it. I'm glad you're home. Yeah. But the first thing we heard was the words, didn't we? I've been waiting on you. And that make it sound like, she finna throw pots and pans. But the non-verbal cues will tell you how she was really feeling. I mean, she could have been saying, I've been waiting on you. You know? Does that make sense to you? Right here, to your hand. Behind you.
Bishop, that might work for most. I think I was scarred growing up because if I heard those words, it wasn't going to be good.
When we came home late and Mama was at the house, and Mama done told us to be home by the time the street lights come on. Y'all don't know nothing about the street lights, do you? Mama say be home before they
start flickering. Flickering, you late.
I've been waiting on you mean take on a whole new meaning. Okay, let's look at the third good way to receive. It's called reflective listening. Okay? Two valuable things to get from this. One is that reflective listening lets the other person know that you heard and understood what they were saying and feeling. Not just saying, but what they were feeling. You see? And the second thing about reflective listening is the other person can correct our understanding if our understanding was wrong. Does that make sense to you? All right. Here's another example. I like his example. He said, you come, Siri think I'm talking to her. I ain't said nothing to her. Wife comes home and say, my mother is just impossible. Now, what does that mean? What does that mean? Reflective listening is going to give her a chance, you see, to say what it means. He said, it sounds like your mother's been giving you a hard time about something. And then she could say, yes, blah, 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 blah. Or she could say, no, that's not quite what I meant. What I meant was, you see, it gives a chance. But what if you say, your mama always in your business? You said, what you've done is you haven't given her a chance to express her feelings or to correct your understanding of what she was saying. You gave her a closed answer. Does that make sense to you? And we're going to talk about that a little bit more in a minute. Okay? Matter of fact, that's the next thing we're talking about. It's called open response. and you reflect the other person's feelings and allow them to continue to talk about the issue. Okay, let's use that my mother's is impossible thing. You give an open or a closed response. A closed response would be, how many times have I told you to put your foot down with your mom? Yeah. You let her interfere inside our home every time she's in. You all, what's she gonna say? You closed her off. You didn't give her a chance to express what she feels, what she wants to say. You see? But if you give an open response, you can say, wow, your mother must have really did something to upset you. And then that gives her a chance to say, yeah, she did. Or no, that's what I meant. What I meant was that, you give her a chance to say what it was, instead of you saying closing her off. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
That's called an open response. All right? The fifth way to receive, we're talking about the receiver, is to allow the other person to resolve the problem. When somebody says something, why you got to fix it? Our temptation is to jump in and fix it, boy. Handle it, Roy, handle it. We got to avoid the temptation and help other people think through alternatives. Let them work through it. Let them do it. And because if they work through it, they're more apt to really follow through on what it is they're thinking about doing. Rather than you fixing the problem. My mother's really possible. I tell you what we're going to do. What we're going to do is we're going to, if you let that person work through it, then whatever alternative, whatever remedy they come to, then they're going to feel better about the remedy. You see? So this is called open response. This is called allowing the other to resolve the problem. But these are all ways that we can effectively listen. Thoughts about effective listening are those five ways. What do you think? Yeah, there's another hand.
Effective listening requires work.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, I listen. I never said any of this was easy, did I?
No, you never did.
But what we said is that the finding is strong families thrive when this occurs.
So would you say there has to be a willingness?
Oh, yeah.
Want to work? Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely. And so you got to want this to happen. You got to want this to happen. And again, that's why counseling is good. The go counselors help you work through, do exercises, do workbook things, do things at home, and then come back and talk about it, what you did, how you did it, things like that. But these work. Anyone else on any of those 5 issues? Those 5 ways to reflect. Okay, now what about sharing? Now we love to share, don't we? We love to be the one to tell you, this is how it all unfolds, don't we? Yeah, we like that one. Okay, so let's talk to about keys to effective sharing. Remember, there's a sender and there's a receiver. Okay? Now, let's talk about the sender, the sending process. And a lot of this comes from H. Norman Wright. I mentioned H. Norman Wright to y'all. That's the guy who I use all my counseling books and workbooks and all that kind of thing. When y'all getting stuff from me when y'all come there, it's a lot of it is from H. Norman Wright. But here he says, here are some 10 things. He said, be a ready listener, and watch this. Do not answer until the other person is finished talking. Have you ever been talking to somebody, and before you can even finish talking, they jump up and well, I haven't finished talking. I haven't finished. So what you have to say is more important. No, I just didn't want you to get away with saying that. I need to say. No, you let the other person finish. Nobody say just because they finish you agree. It doesn't mean agreeing just because you let them finish. Let them finish. Just you got to make them. Uh-oh.
You know, sometimes the other person be kind of, hey, remember the word or something like that. You just want to jump in.
That long sentence that takes forever.
Well, I think you can help. You say, what I'm trying to say is that the condition. I mean, you can do that.
Yeah, we're trying to finish it up.
Yeah, but don't jump in and take over. Number 2, be slow to speak. First, kind of think about what it is you want to say first, okay? And then you want to speak in a way that other people want to understand. Don't come up to your wife and your husband and say, well, the lexical model followed by esoteric meanings is an indication of the propensity to.
All right, Terrence.
Look it up, but I got you. Don't do that. Don't do that. To speak where it can be on. Number 3, speak the truth. Do so in love. You ain't got to come and say, baby, I got to tell you something. You're perhaps just starting. It just stank real bad. I love you. And I just wanted you to, I just want you to, don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. You can.
How do you suggest that go?
She said, how do you suggest that go?
Just pass what's going to go what? he took out a box of Tic Tacs and shook it. You can't do that all the time.
No, but if you have a really, really, really good relationship with your spouse, because there's another point on here where we're going to talk about is y'all got to learn how to laugh and joke with each other. You got to learn how to do that. When I was looking at this note, I was trying to say, how can I demonstrate how I do that with Kim without making her embarrassed? Because I clown with that girl all the time. And she say, boy, if the church people knew you act like that.
That's what I say too.
And I say, they don't know, you know. but you gotta laugh and joke. But that we'll get to that. We'll get to that, and I'm not gonna. Number 4, do not use silence. Don't go silent on somebody who says, I ain't talking to you for the next not next 3 hours, next 3 days.
Woo, that's a long time.
I ain't talking to you. Don't do that. That is horrible. That is absolutely horrible. There's nothing good about that. Nothing good about that. Okay? Don't argue all the time. Why do you always have to quarrel and argue? But disagreement don't mean you have to quarrel, does it?
No, we disagree with
yes, ma'am. Same thing.
Oh, one of them just meaner than the other?
No, it's the same thing. It's the same thing. Me and Kim was in the grocery store, and these 2 elderly people, oh boy, they were fussing at each other, and they were pushing that buggy, and boy, they were going and we've been marking them ever since. That was years ago, and I don't know how many years ago that was, but we've been marking them ever ago. He said, I'm sorry. I can't do it.
What is that? What is that?
Oh Lord, yes sir. Go ahead. Cause I have a business right there. Good to start a fight every now and then. Well, now listen. I'm gonna tell you something in a minute. Y'all get ahead of me because they said hard fighting makes for good makeup. You know, but we get that in a minute. Anyway, I can't get it out because I'm gonna laugh too hard. Number 6, don't respond in anger. Use a soft response. Use a soft, because if you take a moment to think about it, you know, use a soft response. Yes.
Okay. For me, you said not to use the silent treatment, but if I was angry, that's exactly what I would do because I'm not trying to go off on you.
Okay.
So would that be wrong? So what I'm supposed to do is go,
No, you're supposed to get in control of yourself. And what you generally what I tell couples to do is that if I can't talk right now, I say to her, listen, I can't talk right now. Give me an hour and we'll come back and talk about it. And that gives me a chance to calm down. But to go silent, there's nothing good about that. Yes.
Gotta come back. I think when, like, for example, like a basketball team, I think like when you go through stuff, like fail to play too many times, it helps you with your chemistry. So I think like in a relationship, when you argue, it builds your relationship. So you need to go through that.
Well, disagreement is one thing, but arguing and quarreling is not. What we're trying to do is build family relationships. And in family relationships, if arguing and quarreling is your modus operandi, statistically, you're gonna get a divorce. And that's the statistics. And so whether we accept those or not, that is entirely up to you. Yes?
Bishop, I just want to give an example. I know, when I was married, when we had a disagreement, you know, and we can see that it's getting heated there.
Mm-hmm.
So we both realized that we're not going to come to a compromise at that moment, you know. So I would always say to him, don't talk to me right now, I'll be right back. So we wait a while, come back, I peek around the corner and grin, he grinned too. So, you know, we done come to a peaceful solution, you know.
Right.
But we are laughing at each other. I'm peeking around the corner to see if he's
Right.
you peek at me, you know.
Yeah, we always tell couples, what I tell couples in my sessions is everybody gets upset and angry. And sometimes you can get so angry, you'll say something that you don't really mean to say. It's okay to say to that person, listen, I can't talk about this right now. Give me a moment. We'll come back in an hour and we'll talk. But to go silent on the person there's nothing positive about that. Okay? Number 7.
Bishop, can I say something?
Oh,
I think the silence, it brings envy.
It's passive aggressive. You're actually being aggressive, even though you're trying to act like you're the big person. You're actually being passive aggressive.
I just think it brings so much, bitterness, it brings so much, begins to build up from all the silent treatment for it. If it's done over a period of time, it's like it's so much anger built up in the other person and in them because of you like shutting them out, shutting them down. Okay, then why am I here?
It's a form of aggression. No two ways about it. It's a form of aggression. Number 7, when you are in the wrong, admit it. And then don't be afraid to ask for forgiveness. Okay? Okay? There's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. Number 8, avoid nagging. Oh, yeah. You know. Yeah, you did. Yeah, you did. Mm-hmm. Yes, you did. Yeah. No, you did. You know it. I told you last time, I'll tell you again. Yeah, you know it. Okay. Yeah, okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. Mm-hmm. You know it. Boy, that's hard. That's you need to avoid that. Yeah.
What's the response?
when they nagging, I don't know. Bible say it's better to live in the corner of the rooftop than to live in the house with a nagging wife. That's the Bible. The Bible says it's better to live on the corner of the rooftop. Well, I think what they're trying to say is that that's a terrible position to be in. I think that's what it's trying to say. To try to ask for an hour. And look, it's not always the woman nagging. I think you asked for some time. Say, baby, honey, can you give me an hour? Give me an hour, and come back, and maybe it's gone down a little bit. Don't blame or criticize, but restore, encourage, and edify. If someone verbally attacks, don't respond the same way. And then the final one is try to understand the other person's opinion. You don't have to agree with it. Just try to understand where they're coming from. You don't have to agree with it. Yeah. Okay? Women are more nonverbal than men. One of the findings of American women is that they tend to be more nonverbal. So a woman is going to load a lot of her messaging up. She's saying the words, but the tone in her voice, her facial expressions, her gestures, her body movements is going to be loaded with messages. And so, husbands, we need to pay attention so that we can read her messages, because our women tend to be more nonverbal, share a lot more nonverbals in the messaging. Brother Chester came and did like this here. but there tend to be more nonverbals, okay, and along with the words and messages, okay. So the result is that a woman may believe she has clearly communicated to her husband, and he has missed the whole point. Missed it because he heard her say something, but did not pay attention to her, because there are some nonverbals that she's communicating as well. Okay, so that's important. Just to know that. It's important to know that. You need to be armed with that information. And problems can come when one message is given verbally and another message is given non-verbally. Y'all remember, I think one time I had drawn a picture like this for you. Oops, let's see. That's good enough. Y'all see this? And you say, have a nice day, right?
No mouth on it. That means you don't mean it. You don't mean it.
You say have a nice day, didn't you?
Boy, look at that face.
All twist trick on
Y'all got to bring that screen down a little bit. They just cut off the top of mine. But you see how your nonverbal is communicating louder than the word. I mean, you go through the checkout line at Walmart and then have a nice day. You know, well, they're supposed to. They are told that they need to say that.
They ain't say they had to mean it.
You know, it's part of their job description is to tell the customer to have a nice day. You know, but you look at them, especially if they work an 8-hour shift and this hour number 7, they've been standing up there for 7 hours. Yeah, no. Either her put them groceries on that conveyor belt, you know, why you didn't turn the strip around so I can hurry up and swipe? I gotta find your strip. All right, so keys to constructive communication. Let me make one other point here. when something is said is just as critical as what is said. Do you get that? And I think we're going to talk a little bit more about that too. But listen, why you going to bring something up right when I get ready to leave the house for work?
So you can't say that. Trying to mess up your
I got to be at work in 15 minutes, and now here you come.
That's the only time I can get it out.
Why you gonna bring something up and we'll turn all the lights out and turn to the bed and turn all the lights, everything out, everybody pull the couple up to the chin. Now, I got something to say.
Cut the light back on.